Democracy is officially over. Okay, you can basically call it the hypocrisy. This video is going to be kind of a rant. I have been on social media too much at the last couple of days, and I'm just furious at the state of the world and how things are going. We have 2026, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better, okay? Ever since 2020, this world has never been the same. And let's be honest, it's so fucking crazy how every single 2 years we are basically living in a totally different world. Like, just compare 2020 to 2022, two different worlds. 2022 with 2024, two different worlds. And now again, 2026 from 2024 is again a completely different world. This whole idea of democracy basically only existed because we had trust as the people to the government and we believe them. Now that trust has been completely shattered, it has been disrespected, the trust has been completely abused, and we don't believe even a single bit. Even a single bit. As Gen Zers and millennials, we don't believe shit in the news, okay? We don't even believe social media. And with the uprising of AI, we don't believe anything that we see. So when I look at this and you have a generation that doesn't want authority, because we basically have been taught to not trust any authority, no matter who it is, question everybody and question everything. Everything might be a plot, you know. Even if we're confronted with the truth, we question it, whether this is real, whether this is fake. We're basically hyper aware of that. Now, when you look at all of that and the state of the world, what kind of government do you think will come out of that? Like, personally, I can only see two solutions to this, and the one is slightly less dystopian, and the other one is kind of could be utopian. However, I'm just gonna say it. Let's start with the better option. How this might lead, or how this might end up. And I'm talking like this could take 20 years, maybe 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, I don't know, okay? Because the French Revolution started in the 1700s, and basically democracy was normal in the 19th century. No, I'm sorry, 20th century. So if you have like 250 years for such a massive radical idea, from like having kings and queens ruling to having diplomats and politicians ruling, if you need so much time for such a big change, and now considering that, okay, information is much quicker, and that's probably why it took 250 years. If it's even 10 times faster, it will probably take 25 years. The world is moving rapidly, the end of the world is near, we all know it, okay? There's even a saying in the Muslim tradition where it says, in the end times, during the end times, time will speed up, and a year will be like a month will be like a week will be like a day, and a day will be like an hour. I don't know if that's the exact phrasing, but that's basically part quoting it right now. And it's true. Every single person I talk to can confirm this. They feel like time is moving faster, okay? Not that fast, like not like a year, like a month. We're not at that point yet, but it definitely feels faster. Like, times are moving so fast. Who knows what will happen in 2 years from now? Let's come back to the two visions. Now, the best case scenario that I can see out of this, when you don't have any central authority figure that you can trust in, is basically massive decentralization. And decentralization is cool and it has a lot of benefits, but it also has a lot of risks. And I will come to that. If it works out fine, the idea of decentralization, if it works fine, you have multiple. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, like, as you can see, as the movements on the internet in the past couple of years, the general consensus is moving towards individual empowerment. People don't want to empower governments, states, authorities, or institutions. They want to empower themselves and have a say in the political decisions that are being made. So they don't only want to be asked about their opinion, they actually want to have an influence on the thing that is being done. Not like, hey, look, the government comes around and says, look, basically, monarchies were like, look, guys, we're going to do this, and if you don't like it, you're going to get killed. Then, democracy was basically, look, guys, we're going to do this, and we ask you about your opinion, but we basically don't care about your opinion. And if you don't like it, we may fake the votes, we may, do some tricks here and there, and still get what we want, do some propaganda here and there, influence your minds, brainwash a population, say what you want us to say. This was democracy. That's why I call it hypocrisy. And now the people want an actual say in the decisions that are being made. Is it kind of utopian? Yes. Is it visionary? Yes, it is. Is it impossible? No, it's not. However, it would look something like this. Like, can we do this? You would need to ask permission from people. How is this going to work? How is this going to look like in the future? We may not have the tools right now or the technology to actually do this, okay? We need to understand that, for example, democracy was only possible because we had such a fast exchange of information. Diplomacy was much easier. Remember back then, you need to send a horse with a diplomat for like talking to a king, and you need like 3 months to travel back and forth. Like, what kind of diplomacy are you going to have? Like, you'd much rather have a war for a week and it's, the case is closed. So the only reason we had democracy is because of the fast rate of exchange, which was possible due to paperwork. Radio was a huge thing. Audio transmission, and all of these technologies. Now with the internet, we have even a faster rate of exchange, which is going to change things massively. This century and our generation will live in a completely different world. Look, I personally am so fed up with the whole idea of baby boomers defending this whole system, because they have basically grown up to a booming economy. The baby boomers is such a perfect word for them, okay? And I know there are some exceptions, like I don't want to alienate anyone, but when I come across a lot of baby boomers, they trust in the system, a lot of them. They trust in the banks, they trust in the institutions. They don't even care about the economy going worse because they say, in 10 to 20 years, I will be gone from this world. Like, what kind of mindset is that? What kind of mindset is that? What are you leaving to this world, honestly? Like, we're here as Gen Zers and millennials trying to figure out what to do with this BS that was left behind, with all the lies, the hypocrisy called democracy, and with the news spreading fakes, lies, and basically the economy, the job market, and with AI, the rapid change of AI. We're trying to figure out all of that BS that was left behind. And people just say, what's your problem? Why are you so depressed? Why do you not enjoy your life? Enjoy your 20s. Like, dude, how the fuck am I supposed to enjoy my 20s if all I see is the world ending and I basically can't rely on the job market? I can't rely on a university degree the way you have, okay? Like, literally, people that I talk to today, they need at least a bachelor's degree, which is crazy. Like, even in my country, in Switzerland, which actually has a good job market compared to the global world, like the USA, for example, you still need a bachelor. That's like just normal today. Like, you don't see people without a university degree, without a higher education, which is good, but it's also getting inflated. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, here's the point that I'm trying to make. Again, with the vision, there's basically two ways that this can go. So one thing is clear. We will not have a central authority, and the only option is decentralization. Like something like, for example, if, like getting into conspiracy theories, like the New World Order and the One World Government, like That is basically the complete opposite of what will happen, because a one world government can't work. What can work is a whole bunch of countries, like 150 countries, coming together and saying, look, we're forming a a government or a institution that governs with all of us. That's something, that's a more decentralized idea. But whatever it is going to be, it is going to be decentralized. There is no way that a Gen Z millennial generation is going to accept any central authority without some kind of decentralization. So basically, that's the direction that is going. That is clear as day. Okay. But here is the risks and the benefits. If we have the best case scenario, we will have a world that is more decentralized, more balanced, okay, more cultural variety, more diverse than ever, and more beautiful than ever. Okay. Hope you can imagine this. But if things go wrong, the risk is in a decentralized society. If the system collapses, you may have like tribes, like you see in those like dystopian movies, like people, like for example Blade Runner 2049 or something, like people who just live outside of the system. They don't really belong to anywhere. They just kind of live in their own kind of infrastructure, and that could be a decentralized world reality. Because when people basic like it's hard to explain. If you have a lot of different decentralized opinions, the risk is that tribal mentality starts to form. And we all know, if tribal mentality forms, that's the end of that's the end of everything. Like, then you have wars, you have conflicts. Tribal mentality is basically the most primal instinct we have towards which leads to conflict. So this is the major risk of decentralization, which isn't a low risk, because we have proven as humanity that we are tribal beings, that we like to belong to a tribe. But if we can come over that, which is hard to believe, or at least we have some tools or technologies that are going to help us regulate that, or with some kind of diplomacy. Again, it's really hard to say what is going to happen, because the world changes so rapidly. But this is the direction, the general direction that you're seeing. Trust is basically at an all-time low. It was already low after COVID. No matter what you believed in or what you didn't believe in, it doesn't really matter. The point of the fact is that whatever, like in those 6 years from 2020 until now, people just started to lose trust, and they don't trust the government, the state, a single bit. And this is global. This is global. It's not just like, obviously in the US it's at peak, right? It comes from the US. But it is also apparent in Europe, especially, but not only in Europe. You also have Middle Eastern countries, for example, that are questioning their authority. And you also have Asian countries which are questioning their authority. So it's a global thing. It's really a global thing. It's really interesting. It's really interesting because I know the people, Gen Z, millennials, we are basically ready for the world to change, and we just don't know how that vision looks yet, or we don't have the tools, we don't have the exact vision, the technology that is going to lead to that world. And so we're moving carefully at the same time with all of these conflicts going around. Okay, something is going to change, and there's going to be a massive global change. We all know that, we all feel that, we all see that. It's apparent, it's clear. But how is that change going to look like? We don't know. When you look at the French Revolution, for example, it took so many years, and basically the first, or the Great War, as they called it back then, the First World War, was basically the catalyst to a pre-modern society, because they still had some traces of their monarchy structure, which didn't fall apart until after the Second World War. So you needed basically two world wars to break the monarchy system, and have a new modern society, which we live in now, and basically the postmodern society after the Cold War you have now. And this whole peace that we have since over like 80 years almost is a very, very rare kind of peace that hasn't existed in the world for centuries. Like for centuries, people just killed each other with that tribal mentality. And for the first time, we have like a global mindset, a global consciousness, which spreads information in lightning speed. However, again, you can't really compare the past you can't really compare the history with today, because today, again, you have different technology, you have different speed of exchange of information, which changes everything. It just changes the whole equation. So I'm really interested what is going to happen. Basically every single day you have new news coming up. We're basically living in a movie now, I guess. We're living in a movie. I don't know who put us in that movie. That movie started in 2020 someday, but nobody knows who started it or when it's going to end. So I want to quote one of my friends that once told me a really great, really, I never forget that. He told me a government doesn't have its people, a people have its government, which is so true. Meaning, if you don't believe in the system, if you are a person who withdraws from the system and starts to operate in the way you think things should be in a better way, you are actively working towards a better world. Because without the people, there is no government. And what we are trying to build is a new structure, a new system, a new government, as you want to call it, that is better for the whole world. Okay, not just one identity, not just one culture. It serves many cultures. How is this going to work? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And the way we'll figure it out is if people like you and me are actually going towards that vision. If we start to live that way and if we start to act that way, the government, the state, the manifestation of that will naturally follow. It's a natural consequence. We should actively build our own system. And the way we build the new system is by building ourselves, is by educating ourselves, is by providing value. Like this is whole like utopian ideas here, okay? But like we probably need a new currency. We probably need other forms of diplomacy. We probably need technologies. You could be a part of that. You could be a person who is a leader, an inventor. This is actually what this channel is about. People who have great ideas, great visions, and contribute to that new society, okay? To that new mentality and that new system that we are trying to build, that new infrastructure. And I hope that this gives some light, this gives some hope for the future as we are living through these conflicted times. But we must always understand that this is just a part of the progress. There is no rebirth without death. This destruction only serves its purpose. And as always, I wish only the best for you and your families. May the best of health be among you. Peace, blessings, prosperity. And we'll see us in the next one. Bye.